Hey guys, this is the first biology video. This video will be covering information about cells, osmosis, and mitosis. So, what are cells? Well, cells are the building blocks of every living thing on this planet, including plants and all other animals. While talking about humans, the average adult human will have about 50 million cells. So as you can imagine, cells are not big things, they're very microscopic. There are two kinds of cells. There are animal cells that are present in every single animal, so that includes fishes, amphibians, reptiles, etc. And there are plant cells that are present in every single plant. These two types of cell differ in what kind of cell organelles they have, which I'll be talking about in the next slide. Cell organelles. Well, there are different organelles for each kind of cell, plant and animal cells. And in this slide, I'm going to be talking about all the organelles present, all the main organelles present in both the kinds of cells. First, we're going to be talking about the cell wall, which is only present in the plant cells. It's like a protective layer around the cell. It's a thick cellulose barrier, and this protects the plant cells from bacteria, etc., and harmful bacteria. As you can see in the second picture, there's a black arrow pointing towards the cell wall. This is a real life picture of plant cells, and yeah, that's what the cell wall's main function is. Animal cells do not have the cell wall, as animals have physical protection while plant cells don't. Next, we are going to be talking about the cell membrane, which is similar to cell wall, but it's much thinner. This is present in both plant and animal cells, and its main function is to control the passage of things going in and out of the cells. Obviously, it can't protect the animal cells a lot, but it can still control the passageway of it. It also holds together everything in the cell. If there was no cell membrane, the cell would just be splattered everywhere. And as mentioned before, the cell membrane is a very thin layer of, well, membrane. Next comes the nucleus. In the blue picture, on the blue left picture, you can see the little black dots. That is the nucleus of the animal cells, whilst in the plant cells, it's a little more difficult to see. You can see in the middle cell, there is a small, dark yellow circle. That's also the nucleus. So the main function of the nucleus is to replicate the DNA present in the current cell. As it replicates the DNA, the cell then pinches in two, which is mitosis, which I'll talk about later. But what you need to know right now is the nucleus replicates the DNA, so when you grow up, your cells are the same, and you don't grow up a completely different person. Next is the nuclear membrane. It's a bit like the cell membrane, but for the nucleus. It's a small semi-permeable barrier around the nucleus, and it controls what goes in and out. As you might imagine, to replicate the DNA, the nucleus would be needing nutrients and vitamins, etc. So the nuclear membrane controls what goes in and what goes out. The cytoplasm is like this semi-fluid material that surrounds all the cells. It's where the cells kind of float in. And this is also where all the reactions in the cell occur. They provide a transportation system for the cell organelles. It is in plant and animal cells. The endoplasmic reticulum, or more commonly known as the ER. There are two kinds of ERs. There's a rough ER and the smooth ER. The rough ER has a thing called proteins called ribosomes on its inside of its lining, and its function is to store them. So either store them for use of the current cell or transport them to another cell. While the smooth ER's main function is to remove toxins from the certain cell. That's why the cells in the liver have lot of smooth ERs. The mitochondria is one of the most essential organelles. This is also present in both animal and plant cells. This is what converts energy from glucose and oxygen. So it's what provides energy to both plant and animal cells for respiration. As you know, plant cells only go through respiration during the night. So this is the thing that combines oxygen and glucose into an energy form called ATP. The vacuole has many functions. Although it's present in both animal and plant cells, the animal cell vacuole is very small compared to the plant cell vacuole. Its main functions are the following. They isolate the materials that might be harmful to the cell itself. It contains waste products. It also contains water, the excess water from the cell, and it also helps maintain the correct pH level in the cell so reactions can happen comfortably. Here's the very famous chloroplast. I'm sure you have heard of the word chlorophyll that is present in all leaves. Well, chlorophyll is produced by the chloroplast and it's what gives trees and plants its green color. Its main function is current in photosynthesis. It captures the sunlight to provide energy. So its main function is to capture the sunlight during photosynthesis. And obviously it's only present in plant cells. Now we're going to be talking about the ribosome. As I mentioned earlier, ribosome is stored by the rough ER. So ribosome is like the production side of protein. So it is raw protein that can be used by the cell later for energy, etc. Now we have finished talking about the main cell organelles. So we're going to be talking about how cells split and divide into two. And yeah, so this enables us to get bigger, more mature, etc. This is called mitosis. Mitosis is practically cell reproduction, and this is asexual reproduction, so it doesn't need a female or and male counterpart. What happens is the cell divides into two, and this is crucial for the body as you grow along, the DNA needs to replicate exactly by the chromosomes so you can grow up to be kind of the same person you were when you were 5 years old. So you don't want to look completely different and act completely different from what you were when you were 5 years old. Otherwise, if the chromosomes was not replicated properly, you'd grow up to be a completely different person. Your attitude, your looks, everything would be different. Mitosis doesn't just happen. There are phases of mitosis. The first is called the interphase, where the DNA is formed and the centrosomes are made. The centrosomes then start to line up towards the equator of the cell, but that doesn't happen yet. Next is the prophase, where the centrosomes do line up. The nuclear membrane and the nucleus has disappeared by now, and then the centrosomes start removing these fibers called spindle fibers that begin to grab the chromosomes by their chromatids, which is the middle of the chromosomes, and start to pull them apart. Then there is the metaphase. What happens in the metaphase is the spindle fibers pull the chromosomes apart, they start bringing them to their own sides, and then there's the anaphase. In this phase, the cell pinches, and the furrow, the little bend is called the cleavage furrow, where now it starts to divide into two cells as the chromosomes, the DNA, is moved. Then there's the telophase, where the nucleus and the nuclear membrane begins to form and the DNA takes its proper place in the cell. And also the centrioles start moving to their proper place as well. Now we have our final phase, which is the cytokinesis. Now the cell pinches forward and it forms two new cells, and now the nucleus itself gets formed, the DNA is inside the nucleus, and there are two different cells, and now the process repeats itself over and over.